I'm muted. There we go. Hello, everyone. I'm going to wipe your face real quick. There we go. That looks a little cleaner. I was closing some windows because I had I think I had the YouTube broadcast on, and all of a sudden it's like, too many. All this music is playing. What's happening? Sometimes my brain feels like there are too many browser tabs open. It's great to have you all today. Today, we are working on the Lola earring. Oh, good, Janice. Does your face feel better? Right? Awesome. Yes, Marcia, welcome. We are going to be working on let me add this to the stream. We're going to be working on the Lola earring, though I do have some chat that goes on beforehand. So we'll get to the chat and then get through the chat, and then we'll get to the project. I've got some things to share with you this morning. First, it's Rosh Hashanah. Happy Rosh Hashanah. Is that right? Do you say happy Rosh Hashanah? I guess. Lashana Tova, right? And happy fall, y'all. It just turned fall. It's still, yesterday it was 98 degrees in Fresno. Really? Really? It was warm. There's going to be a little bit of a cool down, but then we go up a little bit, and then we'll really have some cool weather. I don't know about you, but I am ready for sweater weather, as we like to say. Oh, let me plug in my computer here. It's telling me to plug. Yes, and thank you, JP. Yes, a happy Rosh Hashanah, happy fall, happy Creative Wednesday, happy a couple of days off to our Miranda, well-earned days off. Chris and I are holding down the fort here. We also have a new member of our filling team, Emily. We'll have to call her Emily 2 because she's not Emily 1. She's a new Emily 2. She's caught on already. She's doing a great job. So she's here just a few days a week. So she's going to help us get back to those quick shipping times that we know that you all know and love. Though we do our very, very, very best here. We are a small team, my friends, doing the best we can in these, shall we say, challenging business times. But we're doing our best, right? Thank you so much for the kind words on these earrings. These were made by Drea. Drea made these, and I had to buy a pair because I love them so much. We're going to be doing some brick stitch and stuff today, which is great. And these are, what I, based on our dancer earrings, the earrings that I made for my birthday. The second one is almost done, so I can't wear them quite yet, but almost there. You can find Drea's all of her earrings over on her Etsy site. You can also follow her on Insta. Let me see if I can find her. I think it's Dream Creations, maybe. Instagram. Let's see. Yep, here she is. Hold, please, and I will get. Nope, that's not it. Drea. Someone will find her. Will someone find her and pop her in the chat? JP, you're in Shopify Preview, FYI. So get out of Shopify Preview and open another page. that happens to me all the time. I'm in preview. Sometimes I put that in the newsletter and you're like, that link is wrong. So yeah, well, before the end of the broadcast, we'll find Dria's Insta link. I should have it just up here. Maybe I have it in the banners. Hang on one second. Yeah, I don't see it. Someone will find it for us. Oh no, here it is. I knew I had it. dreamcreations48.etsy.com. That's so it's Dream Creations 48, and I think you can also find her on Insta there as well. Drea makes a lot of these really great earrings and stuff, so they're fantastic. So thank you everybody for finding those. Mary Ellen, I love that you had brisket. Maybe Chris and I should make some brisket tonight, though we made ham last night for my parents. That's, our Tuesday night meal for the parents, but brisket sounds delicious. Why is it that we always want to talk beads and food, right? So a couple of things that are coming up this week. So let me tell you. Today is the Lola earring. We'll show you that based on a fantastic project by Danielle Wickes. I'll talk you through that a little bit. We also have tomorrow, I haven't done a kit in a long time, and I felt the need to create a little kit for you folks. So I'm not sure how many they're going to be. They're going to be extremely limited, but I've had kind of this idea. So I'm going to wrap it up today. They will be in tomorrow's newsletter. So check it out in the morning because I think these kits will go out. Oh, and thank you, Storm. The link on the Beadshop, for this live event. So that's on the homepage. Thank you for that. Sorry. That's what happens when I bite off a little more than I can chew in a day. So I will update that link right after the show. Thanks for that. I love it that you all are my proofreaders, So thank you. But this is the correct broadcast, wrong link on the homepage. So I will make sure that that's updated. So that's happening. Lola today. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a broadcast at 10:30. What I think I'll do, I'll drop the link in the morning in the newsletter for the kit, and then I'll do a short live starting at 10:30. It'll all be in the newsletter tomorrow, just to show you the kit and how it goes together. On Friday, we are going to be we're bringing back a project that I've seen on all my socials that was really popular about a year ago. And I'm not sure if it's because it makes such great holiday gifts or whatever, super fast, super easy makes. We're going to do that on Friday. So I'll be on with you Friday. Then Saturday, I know, again, bit off more than I can chew, but whatever. Saturday in the morning, we're going to do a stitch in. You folks grabbed the fall carnival mix that I made last week. I'm going to do a bead embroidery stitch in on Saturday. Okay. For, with this kit. We're sold out of these, but it'll be fun. Some bead embroidery. Tune in. I've got some cool ideas. So we're going to do a stitch in. We haven't done one in a while. So that's happening. On the class front, we've got some other things. Emily and I and Janice are meeting this afternoon to talk about the Fresno Metals Retreat. Mark your calendars. It's going to be the last weekend, Friday and Saturday, April 24th and 25th of 2026. Okay. That Sunday, the 26th, I'm going to hold an open studio at my studio here in Fresno. So you'll also have the opportunity to come to my studio, take a look. There's a lot of other cool stuff happening around there. So we're going to have kind of an art day on that Sunday. There's a couple of really fun, like vintage places we'll go to. So we'll do like a little Fresno tour there. So that is, again, mark your calendars. It's going to be the 24th, 25th, and 26th. All of that info is going to go out towards the end of this week. The cool thing is it's going to be at the place where my mom and I quilt in Clovis, California. Clovis is a great kind of little town that has really kind of retained its Western flair. And so we're taking deposits for that. So that'll be up. Janice has also mentioned, thank you, Janice. I was going to mention that next. Beaded comb and headbands on October 11th. Janice still has a couple of spaces. So if you'd like to join in, you can head over to the East Coast Gathering and sign up there. Janice has all kinds of fun things in store for you on the 11th of October. Just a couple of weeks. It's crazy. We also have some information that's coming down for our East Coast retreat. We've got it. We've got a date. We've got a place. It's going to be amazing. So that information will be coming. That is going to be in September. It's actually going to happen before the West Coast retreat, about a week before. So Janice we'll have all that information. So we're going to be taking deposits because we need to secure our spaces with deposits. So we want to get deposits from everyone. So we kind of have an idea about how many people are coming. So that's happening. Then I also have some news on some virtual classes for you. We have talked about doing some sewing content here. So our very first piece of sewing content is going to be on Saturday, October 26th. I think that's the right date. Let me make sure that's correct. 25th. Sorry, not the 26th. It's going to be that Saturday, the 25th. And what I'm going to do is it's an introduction to your sewing machine. What I'm going to be doing with these sewing classes, because that's a precursor if you don't know how to sew. It's a precursor to a tote bag class that I'm going to give a little further down the line. The fun things about these sewing content is that all of these are going to live on a platform that you can access. They're not going to be public. They're going to be paid classes. But I promise you they're going to be worth your while. You'll have access to them so you can go back and view them as much as you want. They'll be interactive via Zoom so you can ask questions. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this is the kind of the beginning of that sewing content. The signups for that, again, will be out very, very soon. Janice is looking over looking over the all of the stuff. Janice, I don't think those are the right dates. We weren't going to do it over October. So let's double check those dates real quick. I think it's going to be earlier in September, before or early in September, right after the East Coast retreat. I think those are September dates. So let's double check those. So yeah, the sewing classes are not going to be super expensive. right? I want them to be accessible for everyone, but it is extra content that needs to generate an income. So, yeah, so we'll have that. So stay tuned to your newsletters. Some of you who were following me on my socials saw that I did a class this weekend with my dear friend Laura Wheeler, who comes to help us out at the Fresno Fiber Arts Guild. She did a face painting class. So this is the piece that I painted in class this weekend. I want to give a plug for the Fresno Fiber Arts Guild. They are my home fiber guild. They're amazing. So this is what we learned in class. I urge you to jump over to the Fresno Fiber Arts Guild website if you're anywhere in California and are looking for a cool guild to join. They're great. We have meetings once a month, September through May, and they're really, really terrific. So the bag that we're going to be making, one of our first projects in Kate's sewing school, is going to be a bag that's very, very similar to this, probably a little bit shorter, a little bit of a shorter tote. But it's really fun to create. I'll show you kind of my foolproof construction for a really fun, nice handled tote bags. Those are the correct dates, JP. That's right. The correct dates for our fall retreat are going to be September 25th through 29th, 2026. So we've got a lot of in-person experiences coming, as well as some really great online sewing content. After we do this, I may do my France shirt. Whoops, there's a pin in here. The France shirt that I did in France. It's a really great intro class. So we'll work all of that out. But the first thing is going to be care and feeding of your sewing machine and sewing some very first stitches. Okay, so I promise you, those of you who want to learn how to sew, I will channel the experience of my ancestors, my gran, what she taught to my mom and I. So you'll really learn a lot of cool stuff. But yeah, Laura Wheeler, you can follow Laura. I think she has an Instagram. I don't know that she's really very active on Insta, but she's really an amazing, gifted teacher. And we are so lucky to call her a friend of Beadshop. It was really a fun class. And she taught me, I mean, I've done dolls. We've done like doll faces and stuff on there. So yeah, it was really fun. And this bag is also a really fun one to make. It's my tried and true carpet bag pattern. Janice, the sewing machine that I love, it's that Singer Heavy Duty. It's on my sewing page. So it's there under our Amazon affiliate. So you'll see it there. Some of my other favorite sewing things are there as well on that page. So it's there. It's that same one, JP, that you have. It's the same one that my mom uses. It's that Singer Heavy Duty that I love. So, and my mom is saying, yep, she sewed. My mom sewed 11 tote bags in the past 2 weeks for the church boutique. I hope when I do some of that sewing content to have my mom over here to add some pearls of wisdom as she shouts from across the room. It'll be fun. So it'll be fun. It's not going to be your run-of-the-mill sewing school, my friends, but it will be sewing the Kate Richburg way. But I promise it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's everything I have to share with you. I feel kind of naked. I'm not even wearing like a pin or anything here today, but I am wearing big earrings. So I'm wearing my Get Things Done dress, right? So that's what's going on today. Okay, let's take a look at Danielle's project and get to making all of after all of that. And I'm so excited. I'm so gratified. I'm really excited to sew with you folks. It's going to be really fun. I feel like I'm going to be channeling my gran and all of the women that have taught me over the years. My 7th grade sewing teacher, Ms. Mock, Kathy Mock was her name. She was my 7th grade sewing teacher. Yeah, so it was good. It was good. Even if it teaches you just to make, do, and mend, right? And I'll teach you my tried and true way of hemming jeans, all that stuff. I mean, why not, right? We got to share it for sure. All right, let me add this to the stage right here. And let's take a look. So this is the project. It's from Danielle Wickes. She has posted it on her website. Let me get this going here. Let me make sure. Let me zoom out a bit. This was her fan earring tutorial that she shared with us. You can find Danielle on Instagram over at Danielle Wickes Jewelry. So many of you know Danielle, love Danielle as much as we do. She is so, so generous with her knowledge and her tutorials. She really lifts all of us small business beading companies up. We're very, very fortunate for her. She gave us the permission to download and link this tutorial right on the project. So I made this a while back. It was the Frida earring. And the Frida earring that I did it before we carried like size 15s. I did it with 11s. The cool thing about this project is you can kind of adapt it, and I'll show you how I've kind of adapted it for what I'm using it for, what I'm doing. But it's a really great place to start. These crescents, we do carry some of these in on beadshop.com. I use them on the Frida earring, but for the Lola, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, this Lola earring is named after a contemporary of Frida Kahlo. She was a Mexican photographer, Lola Alvarez Bravo. And when you see photos, a lot of photos of La Maestra Frida, she took a lot of those photographs and was a contemporary and a very trusted friend of Frida. So that's why I named this earring Lola. And so it's an homage to her. So this project, and I've listed everything that we're using. So let me just go over it. Oh, I'm glad, Kelly, that you got to be able to grab some of those duets. You know, let us know. Janice and I were talking about doing another duets kind of a kit. You know, it takes a lot of work on our end, but they're really fun to kind of put together. And with the kits that we do with those, we do them in 10-gram tubes, which are more like this size, rather than the 20 to 22 grams here. And it just makes it so much more affordable. I mean, let's not beat around the bush, my friends. Beads, especially Miyuki, have gone up in price. They just have. And Janice and I are, you know, trying to do our best to, number one, keep prices competitive, while two, being able to stay in business, frankly, right? So we know that things have risen. So when we do these little collections, instead of having the long tubes, it's kind of nice to have those short tubes. Janice and I were talking about kind of our next pre-sale collections. So you'll see those coming down the pike soon as well. You know, we only have 24 hours a day, but we'll get to it. Let us know, write in if you have some colors that are your favorites and duets, or, you know, we've done collections on that ADOT, that Malaga. We did a collection on triangles. We've done a collection on the super duos and the gem duos. So let us know if there's another sampler collection in shaped beads or not shaped beads or whatever that you'd like to see, because we love doing those little samplers. It just takes some time. So the beads that we're going to be using today, okay, Danielle calls for a lot of different colors in this earring. And I'm sorry, I went kind of cheap and I printed this in black and white. So do forgive me, but in the handout, which is in both the Lola and the Frida earring pages, it is in color, but I thought I'd save on ink. So here she tells us the breakdown of what we need. I used a little less because I wanted them to have a little more of a monochromatic color. So for 15-aughts, oh, sorry, there's a mosquito in here. Yeah, that's kind of making me crazy. Oh, yeah, we sure can, JP. The new Matubo, it's a new ginkgo in the new Matubo frozen finish. We're going to launch it with Danielle. We have a project coming, and it's available in October. So yes, more on that. Thanks, Janice, for mentioning that for sure. That's going to be fun. Danielle has a great project for it. And ginkgos are going to be a new shape that we're going to be launching. I also really want to launch paisleys as well. So we'll see. One will probably come after another, though. If anyone, you know, cash flow, money, I hate that part of it. I want to win the lottery so we have unlimited funds so I can carry every single bead that we want to carry. But I promise you, we'll get to it. I promise. Okay, so Danielle says 15. So I went with 15s. This 44.79. This is the Moody Blue. That's up there at the top. And then I also incorporated it there in the bottom. I'll show you how I do that. She also tells you to use 11-aught seed beads, 3 colors. I actually just went with 2 colors here. I went with the light bronze and the matte champagne. This matte champagne is both of these are 2 of my favorites. So you can see I used it up here. I wanted something to really say fall, right? And I think this says fall. So I used that up here. She also said to use 2.5 millimeter fire polish rounds. You could substitute 8-aught triangles. I just substituted 8-aughts for those. And I used 8-aughts she tells us 3 colors. I just used it in the 2. This is the Amber Picasso and this 44.92. I'll tell you what that one is. That is the Duracoat Dyed Opaque Cognac, which is this one. And then she tells us for fire polish to use a 3 millimeter and a 4 millimeter to have it do that kind of nice, flare. In the 4, I used umber, and in the 3, I used Picasso Opaque Red. And those guys are right here in my little dish. So you can mix and match with these bead sizes as long as they are approximately the same size. Okay, that's kind of the secret with this. I was also thinking about making this earring a little bit longer, but instead, what I did was I used, instead of using this crescent, which you could, right? The crescent, though, covers up some of the beads. So I wanted to see all these beads in this. So I got this hammered teardrop that I'm going to use. Okay. I auditioned some others from our collection, and I just couldn't decide what I wanted to use. Right? Oh yeah, Sarah, let me get closer to it. Let me take it off of this background. Hang on. Let me zoom in a little bit here. There. Hopefully that's a little, let me go all the way back and then all the way in. Hopefully that's pretty clear. Okay. So you could use, this is that hammered drop. I also thought about turning it upside down and using it this way, covering some of that, right? You could put it on the hoop, which I love, and you could extend this out maybe a little bit more, right? We could also, like I have this hoop from my other earring, you could use a smaller hoop, make the beaded hoop, and then connect it, right? You could do brick stitch around this like I'm doing around this one. We also have, these are tiara cast ones, the hammered hoop that has the loop in the middle, and you could add a drop. So in case you didn't notice, our hoops and connectors this week are item of the week. It's on the homepage. Let me see if I can just kind of get a screenshot of it. I'll put this, hang on. Let me grab this. Let me grab all of this. Hold, please. Let me put it up here. Let me load this. Our hoops and connectors are marked down 10% off this week. So they're already on sale. So we also have, and that's on sale through Sunday, 9/28/25. We also have our September sale. When you spend $25 and use the coupon code September 10th, you save 10% on your purchase. So you can stack those because the hoops and connectors don't need a coupon code, right? So you just enter September 10 at checkout. And then, of course, right on the homepage, there's a link to Lola, this exact piece that I'm doing. So I wanted to show you folks that. All right. So let me show you how I do this. Yeah, I really love this first teardrop because I want to integrate this all into the piece. So Danielle's directions are very good. You can download her directions, but I'm going to walk you through it here because I want to show you a little bit about how I changed it. And I love when you take our patterns, and I know that Danielle loves it too, that you can kind of take the base of the pattern and kind of play around, you know, with making your own substitutions. So this is what we're going to do here. We're going to ladder stitch together 10 stacks of 2 15-aught seed beads. I know, 15-aughts. That, and what I did for the Frida earring, instead of this stack being 15s, I think I used 11s, and it worked out fine. Okay. It the ladder stitch, and then the 11s, you start to do the herringbone stitch. So I'll show you that. That comes across there, and then you do a couple of rows, 3 rows of 11s and 3 rows of 8s, and that is what creates this fan. Once you have this fan, and I'll turn it around so it matches. Once you have that fan, and that's what's going on to like right there, right? Then you can really improvise what's going on down here. I followed her directions and went with the fire polish. So we'll get to that part in a second. We do the 3mm in between, and then we do a couple of rows of 4mm, and then we do a little picot down there at the bottom. What I did was I filled in the picot. You get a little tighter. I brought those 15s from up there to down here to kind of tie it all in. Okay, so instead of finishing with just a 4mm there and a 4mm there, I used a 3mm and some 15s. So I'll show you, right? It's pretty simple. And Curtis, I think it would, for sure, would it create the fan by starting on the hoop? 100%. That's a really great suggestion. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but you could brick stitch. What I was going to do here is I was just going to attach this after the fact, but if you do your brick stitch here on this hoop, right, I think that we could, I think that would work. Okay. Why not? So let me show you. Let me start with the 15s. You'll have to bear with me while I pull all of this together. I had my fire line here a second ago. Let me grab some more and we'll get it going. I'm going to use fire line, though you could use other things. Let me make sure my fire line matches. I think I used gray. What's this? I think I used it in 6 pound. I'm sorry, 4 pound is what Danielle, I think, uses. Hang on while I'm looking here, because I think that here we go. That's it right there. I did it in smoke. I put the fire line, though, in crystal under on the project because I thought crystal maybe would show up less. But since I started this in smoke, that's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so don't worry. I'm also going to use a size 12 beading needle. That seems to work out. So let me go ahead and cut using my Xeron snips. And I'm going to cut about a wingspan, I guess, so I've got enough to work with. And we'll go ahead and needle that thread. Now, last night, for some reason, when I was working on this project, I was working without really good light. So I see in the light of day a couple of places. See here where I have this big piece of thread right there. So, oops, make sure you're working in good light. I'll weave this in. When I weave in, I'll come back in and weave, and I'll kind of catch this thread and weave it in. It's not the end of the world, but make sure you're using some good light. Okay. The Frida, I probably did use KO. Probably because we didn't have Fireline then when I did it, right? I think that was probably the reason. But KO will also work, right? Definitely. So here are these 15s. Let's see. I'm going to ladder. I still have paint on my nails from painting this weekend. Very nice. Nice look, Richburg. Working hands, everybody. I'll get back to manicure someday, but not right now. Too busy. So here we are. Yeah, I'll show you, JP, how I weave it in later. I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to put my two 15s, very tiny, the tiniest of beads. I'm going to leave myself a tail of about 3 or 4 inches, and I'll go back and up through that ladder stitch. Actually, with ladder stitch to begin, you put on 4. Sorry about that. Let me put on my 4. I go up through. Let me see if I can stay in camera. Hang on. Okay, right there. Let's see if I can stay in. So here it comes. There's my 2. All right. So now I come down. And for future reference, I start the pattern at about 43 minutes into the broadcast. So write it down for your notes. Ellen will timestamp it so you can get to that part right away without all the chat, but what can I say? I like the chat. So there's my 4. Can you see that? Hang on. Let me get in. These 15s are so flippin' tiny. Can you see that? Like that? Okay. Now we need to do 10, so that's 2. So I'm going to put on my next 2 for brick, or for ladder, rather. Ladder is the start for so many different stitches. Oh, see? You gotta clear your space so you don't get this. For Pete's sake, come on. Get that out of the way. So here's my next one. And I know the ideas do start to flow. So that's what these live broadcasts are all about, you know? The ideas just flow. So here we go. Kind of tighten that up. So there's my 3. It looks a little not that perfect, but it'll even out as you start to stitch. Let me tighten that up. Okay. So here we go. Here's 5 or 4, I think, and up. So you go up through the one before, and we've brick stitched a lot on this show. Down to this one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll do 5. Wendy, that's really nice of you to say. Thank you for that. Yeah, I am. I'm going to scoot out a little bit. It's hard to stay in frame. There we go. All right. So there we go. I'll try and keep an eye on the camera and what I'm stitching all at the same time. So what do I have here? 2, 4, 5, halfway there. Pick up 2. Oh, these beads are tiny. Up through the one before it. Oh, for crying out loud. Let me really clear this space. I was talking to someone today in an email about how to not tangle your thread. And I said, the first thing that you do is clear your space so you don't catch on things. And I am not listening to myself. There we go. Okay. Let's get rid of this. All right, that should be better. So this comes down, right? I've gone through, and now I come up through this stitch. Like the same stitch that Emily used with the bugles for her fishies, right? I have seen, those fish have gone viral. I got a email or a text from my friend Abby over at the bead place. And she's all, Kate, one of your viewers is in my store and and is talking about the fish, and she wants to show it to me. Where is it? So I texted her. It was awesome. It was awesome. 2, 4, 6, 7. We love it. We love sharing our ideas. We love sharing our techniques. It's fun. I love seeing all the fish that you folks are working on. I love it. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2 more. 2 more rows. So after this base row, we're going to go into the herringbone stitch. Okay. And it's going to be a 1-drop herringbone. It could be a 2-drop, but we're going to do it in the 1. Okay. And down. Now I can go through and reinforce this little place, this little bit, but to connect these to this hoop, I'm going to have to be stitching down into here anyway. So I'm not going to do that, right? If this were just, you know, like this or under a clamp, like the Crescent or whatever, I would probably reinforce it, but I'm not gonna. So, because again, I need room, especially in these 15s because they're small. I need room in there to work. Let me dump these out and let's get some of the 11-aughts. So the 11-aughts, I started the row with the champagne, right? So the champagne is this one, this lighter one. So we did 1 row of the champagne and the herringbone, and then I come back and I'll do the light, and then I'll repeat that again. Okay. So let's put on 2 herringbone, 2 beads for the herringbone. Okay, and I flip this around because I like starting down close to me. I'm going to go down that first bead, that first 15, or I'm sorry, the first one in the row of 2, but the second one in. Can you see that? Let me go a little tighter. Let me try and stay in frame. So many things. I better have another drink of coffee. I know, I have to make some of this fish. I was going to try and make them a little bigger in 8-aught, but we'll see, you know, in all my spare time. But I love them so much. So here's that first herringbone. And see, what makes it herringbone is that they're kind of sitting like this, right? Like this. They kind of skew up a little bit. So I'm going to go down. I've gone down that second one. Now I'm going to come up. And we have some flat herringbone projects on Beadshop. I'm going to go up that first one in the next pair, or the third one over. Okay. And I'll put on 2 more, 1 and 2. And go down the first bead in the row, the one next to it. Okay. Like that. And kind of tap them, tell them where to go. Herringbone, especially this first row, can be a little unruly, but see how they're sitting in like little rows of V's there. So have I gone up? Nope, I need to go up this one. The second row will be easier because going up these 15-aughts makes me want to run into traffic. But we got it. Okay. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean, figuratively. 2 10s. Go down the second one. These would also make great Dia de los Muertos earrings. We could put a skull on the top, right? This would also kind of look like a mantilla if we put it on the top of the skull. Come on, I can't get this through. There we go. There it is. Okay. Let me go out just a little because I'm stressed about going out of frame. You've seen it up close a little bit. So here's this. Get it to go into that V. The first row is always the row that gives you a little bit of sass, right? This is one where the beads are sitting a little far apart, but the herringbone will bring it together. Herringbone, your base row always needs to be an even count of beads because you put that herringbone on in groups of 2. Okay, there we go. Right? Yeah, orange beads for the marigolds. I know, it would look really good. I'm going to try and get, so I had some really wonderful testers do some tester patterns for me for my kind of Dia de los Muertos brick stitch piece. And I hope to get that project up soon. That was my goal. October's going to be here before we know it, so I got to get that project up. Janice, don't let me forget it. I need to show it to you. I know, poor JP. She's always the last to know. Sometimes with my projects. Let's get this coming up like that. There we go. And like that. There we are. And now let's do our last grouping. Again, it's kind of slow going with the 15s on the bottom, but once we jump up to the 11s, it'll be better. Okay, so here's that. All right, now this extra thread here, we're going to weave in. I'm not going to weave it in yet because I might need it later. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it for now. So now I'll get in a little closer so you can see this. Okay, again, it's a little wonky, but don't worry about that part, right? So now what we need to do is we need to turn the corner because our thread needs to come out of this first one right here. So where I'm going to stitch to turn the corner is I'm going to come back through this 15 that's next to it, and I'm just going to pop across to that 11-aught and put my thread in the starting spot. Okay, so I'm going to go back to that second one in the row below, right there. pull that through. And now go to this 11 and come up. If everything loosens up a little bit, just tighten it. Get that tension back. There we go. Okay, so now I'm ready to do a second herringbone row across this way. Okay, now these, the herringbone, they're not connected. Can you see that there? There's no connection here between these groups. The connection between these groups happens when you put the row on that's above it. Okay, and these will all sit nicely on my second row. I'm not going to worry about it too much. So let me put on 2 11s, 1 and 2. Okay, then I go down that first, the second one in the first group of 11s. So see, now you can really see how that sits nicely. Now I just pop over, come up to the next 11, 2 11s on, down through the second 11 in that grouping. They make up really fast once you're not dealing with those pesky 15s. But 15s look so good. They just add a tiny little bit of color. And sometimes you just need that 15. You just do. I go down. So see, look at this row completed really quickly. Make sure you're not catching. That's what I did. I caught my thread around the earring when I was beading in the dark. I don't know what I was thinking. I got a lot of lamps, little lamps and stuff, right? So here we go. Now to turn around, I'm going to go down to the 11-aught below it and up. Make sure that you're going through the 11-aught the correct way through the herringbone. You want to go through the bottom. Sorry, I'm going to have to cover it with my fingers, then I'll show you. You want to go through the bottom and then out to the top. You don't want to go back down that way. Don't you love it how we still have Emily like on the bat phone, Janice? That even though we can still, she's like the beading Batwoman, right? We can just call her, we can put out the bead signal and Emily answers. Thank goodness for you, Em. So here that comes. Now we'll do, oh, and see, look, I've got a knot. Come on, a knot there. So here's my second row. We'll be done with these in no time. So now from there, this is where that row connects, right? Can you see that? It connects it over in the row below. Now two of that champagne. And I think I did 4 rows. I'm not sure how many Danielle tells you to do because I started to go rogue pretty quickly. But you can go rogue anywhere. I love that, Cindy Lynch. The big fire polish signal in the sky. It's really true. I have a giant fire polish bead. I'll have to bring it here. It was one of those like samples, like traveling salesman samples or whatever. It's really beautiful. It's giant. It's gigantic. I'll have to get it and put it in my trinkets here. It's in my living room, actually, right now. But I love it so, so much. But that we can just take a picture of it. I'll put it out there and you folks can like email it to us when you have a question, right? Throw up the big fire polish, right? Yeah, Stem Hilly, that's exactly what I did, my friend. I was, I'll be honest, sometimes I watch some really trashy TV. Like, I don't know, it's bad. I'll watch like a YouTube gossip show or something. It's really terrible, terrible for me. But um, I watch just to unwind. I'll work on my project. I'll throw on like a half hour of, or like travel shows. Yesterday, I watched this guy who bought a ghost town in California. The ghost town is called Cerro Gordo, and he's been renovating it for 5 years. It's been so interesting to watch it. So I watched him. I almost named these earrings Cerro Gordo because that's why I was watching it. Cerro Gordo. Um, uh, but yeah, it got darker and darker, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I can't see a thing. So I've done 4 rows of these. So let me do this. Oh, do you watch it too, Michelle? I love him. I really love him. He goes on all of these adventures and stuff. I really love watching him. It's in the high desert of California, kind of near Lone Pine, which my mom and I both have a real affinity for the California, both the high and the low deserts. Love, love, love. There is on our Amazon affiliate, Karen K, there are some lamp recommendations that we have on there. I have like a neck light that I use. I brought it to the bead retreat with me, and I can't find it since the bead retreat. I know it's somewhere that I haven't unpacked. So that is also probably why I was beading in the dark. So see how I'm coming along. Now, this would make just a great bracelet or pendant or something all the way across, especially if you just started the herringbone without this 11-aught to make it swing out. Herringbone stitch is a great stitch for a band of any kind. See, you could just do it with 4 across like that, or this has 2, 4, 5 across like that. It's really a simple, satisfying, and fast stitch. So now let me, and if you search Cerro Gordo, it's Cerro Gordo on YouTube, or Ghost Town, Cerro Gordo Ghost Town, or Mining Town, you'll find it. He's great. It's really interesting. So here we are. Here's that row. That row's complete. Let me turn it around, turn my, do my turn. And now we're going to move into the 8-aughts, and that's going to make this fan out even more. These earrings are great, great, great for, see, this is where I went bad. Look, it's going around right here. That's where I went bad on that other one. I'll show you how to fix it. But there we go. I caught it. I caught it in time. Right? Okay. Oh, thanks, JP. There it is. Cerro Gordo Ghost Town. It's so good. It's great. So now let me show you this one. This is where the more of the fanning starts to come in. Okay, we're going to switch from these 11s to these 8s. So we're going to do a row of this Duracoat. Oh, let me look at the color again because I cannot remember what it is. Hang on. Duracoat dyed opaque cognac. That's this one, $44.92. And then we're going to go to the Picasso Dark Amber Transparent. I feel like this Picasso Dark Amber is a real sleeper in the bead world. It's a Picasso finish, but it's on transparent. Let me show you. So it has a hint of Picasso, but it still has a light of that transparent. And you know how we feel about Picassos around here. Just gorgeous. So let me scoot back just a little. Yeah, when I was using it, I was like, wow, we haven't used this in ages, and it hasn't seen a lot of traction. So I thought it was perfect for this because it also, if you look here on the side, right, you can see there's a glint of that blue. So that's where I picked out that moody blue to kind of go with that Picasso. So the first row I did this other one, what the heck? Why can't I remember anyone's name? This is the Dyed Opaque Cognac. That's what this is. $44.92. Let me dump out a few more of these. You can, my friends, totally go on your own color adventure with these. We carry so many different ADOTs. So you really can kind of decide what it is that you like. But I thought that this was a nice fall color palette. So let's pull up 2 of these 8s, herringbone it, go through the 11, up and across. See how I'm holding it? I like to hold this piece in my non-dominant hand, and I always turn it around so that I start the herringbone here to my right. Whoops, go up there. Here to my right and work to my left. That works for me. I am right-handed, but if you are left-handed, you would just, depending on how you like to work, you could hold it in your right hand and work in the opposite direction. Make sure also that when you're going through the bead below that you're entering the bead from underneath, right? So like I'm doing here, so you just kind of have to tap them to tell them to get into order. So see here, I'm going from underneath that bead below. If you go from the top, it's going to be funny, right? It's not going to stitch correctly. So here's this, these 2, and down. Okay, so you can see there's the flare. So I'm going to do one more row with just the Picassos next. Okay, 2 plain rows. Oh, let me turn this around. Goes through that 11. Now the 11 seems small because I've been using 8s. Go through that 11, go up through that 8, and here it is. Okay. So now I'm ready. Let's get 2 of these Amber Picasso, down the 8. Keep your tension taut, not too tight, but keep it consistent. Keep it tight. You don't want these to be flappy around, right? Get that in there. Is that right? I've gone through there, down and up. Yep. Looks a little different in the 8s. I go down like that. Go up. Put on your 2. Go down. Up put on your 2, go down, up, and put on your 2. Okay, now we get something a little special. Let's take a look at the earring. Okay, let's do this. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting that through. This goes here. We need to get it back to its starting position, go to the one next to it in the row below, and then up through that first bead in the row. Okay, so here we go. So what we have now is 2 rows of 15s, 4 rows of 11s, 2 rows of 8s. Okay. So what we're going to do next is right here with Danielle's photo, we're going to do this row, putting in, let me zoom out a little bit. We move to herringboning with the 3mm fire polish. See that right there? That is this one. Okay. So what we're going to do is, let me make sure I'm not going to steer you wrong. With the 3mm. Okay. And then that 3mm, I want to see where that goes. So what I did was, in between those 3mm, I came in, I just did 1 row of the 3mm fire polish right here. Okay. What Danielle has you do, and you can do this, you can do 2 rows of the 3mm, and then on that second row we added the 4mm. Okay, but what I did was I omitted this row. I don't know why I did it. I just did. I went back to I did this portion right here with the 3mm and then the 4mm inside. You could do 2 rows of the 3mm or just 1 row like I did here. I felt maybe I was getting a little long. Maybe I wanted this to nestle up kind of close. I don't know. It was last night, whatever my reasoning was. But I think it works fine. And then I'll show you how I deviated this bottom row as well. Okay. So what I did here is I came in with my 2 3mm, and I did that herringbone stitch like this. What Danielle had you do is, like I said earlier, go through and do that herringbone stitch all the way across, and then coming back another row of 3mm, then adding the 4mm in between. But what I did here was I picked up the 4mm on that little leg that goes in between, and then I tightened it down. I think that's what I did. Let me compare it. Oh, nope. Lied. Sorry. Looking at that close up. I'm like, I don't think I did that. Sorry, I should have taken some notes. This is how easy it is to pull it back. I actually did. Can you see here? Let's forensic. this back in. See, here's the Duracoat up at the top. There's the other one, the amber. Then here's my third row. And what I did here, this is how I deviated. In between, I put on one of these 8-aughts. So let me show you. So what Danielle tells you to do next is, like I started, do those 3 millimeters. What I did was I did another row of 8-aughts instead, right here. And then, whoops, oh, it would help if I threaded my needle. And this is what I say when, and you may want to follow Danielle's instructions if you haven't made these before so you don't confuse yourself. But it really is adaptable to, as long as your beads are kind of the same size going down, you can alternate or switch your beads up. So I used this color, right? I went through, and then I wanted a little more beady goodness here. So that's when I added one of these beads in the other color to go on that little leg that's in between. Let me get this through and then I'll show you a little closer. So see, here we go. Here's the 2 I put on. And instead of just hopping from the bottom of this bead to the bottom of this bead and coming up, I added an 8-aught in between. Okay. You could add something smaller. You could add an 11 maybe to pull it in tighter. I don't know. I just thought an 8-aught was the right thing to do, so I did it. Okay. And you can see how that sits. That's that bead right there. Right there. Okay. So this goes on 2 of these guys. Back down through that 11, or sorry, that 8 right there. Not leaving that open, a bare bead, but putting on the transparent amber Picasso, making sure that I don't go around my piece there. There we go. 2 of these 8s and down. 1 bead in between. I wanted to have it to be an alternating color. You could even introduce a third color in here. Like if I really had wanted another pop of blue, I could have used that bead that's going on the little leg in between. I could have used a moody blue 8-aught there. That would have looked nice. But, you know, see what you have. Play around with it. There's that one. And so now I finish up with one of these, come up, finish that leg with a bead, and finish the row off with 2 of these guys. There we go. Turn the corner, go down, up, across. I can't do it in one pass. Up through here. Sorry if I'm covering. I need to see where that's going, and up through there. Okay. Now I'm going to put on the 3 millimeter row with the 4 millimeter in between. Make sure everybody's sitting right, that nothing is twisted. That looks a little suspect. There we go. Okay. So here Now we're on this row that I did. See how I did 2 of the 3 mils. Now I could, if I wanted a little more space here, I could have just done 1 row of 3mm and then a second row of 3mm and put this 4mm in between coming back on that third row. But I didn't. I wanted these to be kind of tight, right? So let me show you. Someone just texted me. Let me see. Okay. There we go. Sorry, just needed to make sure I didn't need to put out a fire. All right, is this in focus? I can't tell. Maybe it's because I can't see. Let's try and focus that a little bit more. That's a little bit better, I guess. I know, JP, I love this earring so much. I feel like it really has, I think it's just perfect for fall, and I feel like it's festive. It's happy making, which I also love. So let's put on 2 of those 3mm, okay? And we're just going to herringbone those 3 mils. And I think why I came in and I put that 4mm in between was because I put that 8/0 up there. I really had a lot of space here. So I felt I needed to close it up. So I closed it with that 4mm. You could also close it with a couple of 8/0, whatever. But look at how that 4mm just sits so nicely. Let's get this 3mm, herringbone it. I'm using it like a verb. And across and up. We're almost done with this, my friends. Right? Get it in there and see, look at that swoop that we're getting. Right? And yeah, I thought the blue, so if you look on our homepage, I took this inspiration. I'll show you. I took this inspiration right from the new banner that I made for our September coupon. That's exactly where I took this inspiration. This moody blue really feels like September sky to me, right? That's where I took it from. I'm like, oh, look at that. Those September colors make me so happy. I'm pretending it's fall, even though it got up to 98 degrees yesterday. But today is cooler. Fall is coming, my friends. Fall is coming. I don't know if you saw it's that Saturday Night Live skit. I think it's with Maya Rudolph, and I can't remember who the other person is, but it's their sweater weather skit. Oh God, it's so funny. It came up in my algorithms, so it made me think sweater weather. Come on, herringbone for me, please. Sometimes you have to tell it who's boss. Did I miss stitch? Oh, that's why. Maybe. Nope, that's right. It just doesn't want to sit right. I'm going to tell it though. There it goes. That's the right one. And then I go across here and come up. And then I go here and here. So that's that row. We're almost done. I think there's just one more row for me to do. Let me double check. So what Danielle does on her last row, and again, I love the way that these kind of, flute. Let me get my needle back to the starting position, and then I'll show you. Come on, don't tangle on me now, please. That goes there. And that comes right up. That 3 millimeter. And if you put in a row and you don't like it, just like I did when I started that mistake row that I was doing, it's really easy to just take it out and restart it. Come on, got a little bit of a twist here. Undo it. There we go. Okay. So all right, there's the tension. Yes, with Amy Poehler. Yes, that's what it was. Amy Poehler. It was Maya Rudolph and Amy Poehler. And I can't believe I forgot that. And they do Sweater Weather. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen, or one of them anyway. So now let me go ahead and see if I can make those nice and sharp. So here's the last row, what I do. I think this is the last row. No, it's not the last row. I do a row of 8/0. I really should have taken notes. 8/0, then this, then I do the picot, I think. Yeah, I think that's what I did. Maybe not. Okay, this is what I think I did. I'll show you. And this is way deviating from what Danielle showed you, but I'll show you. See how Danielle, when she finished hers up, because I wanted to be extra, she came down, there's that one with the 4. She just came down and she finished it off with an 8/0, a picot, an 8/0, then back up and across and down and so on. Okay? What I did was I wanted to add that blue. So I came down 8/0, picot with the 11, the light bronze, the champagne, the light bronze, back up through the 8/0. Then on that long leg that's across, 2 15s, a 3 mil, and 2 more 15s. Okay? Because I had a lot. Can you see here? I have a lot of space in between. So I thought I could really fill it up. Okay? So that was my improv. So let me get in a little tighter. Oh my gosh, the chat is lively today. I love it. So I did the 8 mil, 2 of the 8 mil, 2, or 1 of the light bronze, 1 of the 11/0 in the champagne, 1 light bronze. Sorry, wrong order. Just 1 8/0, these guys, then another 8/0. Sorry. You could also, I thought about this, I thought about using a Miyuki drop here. I also thought about using a Miyuki drop here. I also thought about coming back through the picot, making another long loop with the 15s, 15, maybe 15, 11, maybe 2 15s, 2 11s, a drop, 2 11s, 2 15s. So I had one more big loop at the bottom, but I thought I'd stop. But I think that the drops, I may make another pair of these with the drops because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces for drops there. I don't know. You could keep going. This could be like a giant ruffly earring that you wear and go to flamenco dancing and have an amazing time, right? So here's that end. So I'll go through, right? So we've got the 8, the 3 11s, the 8, and those 3 11s make up that picot. Okay, so here is where that leg lies. Now, what Danielle did was she went up and over through this 4 millimeter, right? Like this. I wanted to fill in a little bit more below, so that's what I did. Okay, so let me just make sure that this tension is right. So again, instead of going up here and down and picoing, I just went across. And what I did was 2 15s, a 3. Where's my 3 millimeters? I put them to the side so I wouldn't catch them. And now I've lost them. Hang on, here they are. Here they are. Let's get some more 3s. So 2 15s, a 3, 2 15s. Again, this could be a drop. This could be anything, as long as the size fits. Now I'm coming across. I'm going down that 3. See there, it fits in there. Now I'll put in that picot. The 8, the 3 11s, 1, 2, 3, that 8, and up. Okay. Now the repeat 2 15s. This could also be 1 11, but the 15s, I had that color and I wanted to bring it back down from the top to the bottom and stitch it in. Okay, just have 2 more to go. The picot, which is one of these 8s, one of these, one of these, one of these, one of these, and go up. The 15 layer, 2 15s, a 3 mil, 2 15s, and down. Hang on a second, everybody. Let's take a look at this. Again, remind me to take notes. I'm just looking at how this looks right here. And see how something is off here. See how these are longer and these are shorter? Something's off. Hold, please. If it's worth doing, it's worth doing right? I'm going to take these out. Something's not right. Well, I'm going over a little bit, but that's just how it is. Let me see. Let me give this a little bit of forensic. So I feel like that's not in the right spot. I shouldn't have woven that other one in. You know what I'm going to do? Let's cut it. I know. It's what I get for not taking notes. I'm going to cut this one, and we're going to take a look at my thread path. There we go. Okay, here we go. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to cut this up, and because again, this is a great tip on taking notes, right? Next week on Bead Project Autopsy. Yeah, right? So see here how this is coming down? This is showing me that, and see how these are connected right here? I came in and I went across and added another row here. So let me show you. So this is not right. So let me just, I'm going to take this apart. So that goes. See how this is connecting these picots and that one in between. That's what that's telling me. Okay. What this is telling me here, as I take these apart, maybe from this side, is here's my this row, my eights, and then I went in and I did those threes and I went across. Okay. So, because then see how when I pull this, these eights and those fours are connected. Okay. So I need to get back to this. Okay. So let's just do it. I mean, who cares, right? Let's get it back. Again, if we're going to do it, you guys, we're going to do it right. Remind me to take notes. Or not, whatever. All right. So here we are. But it also shows you, what this shows you is, and thank you, Terry, for that comment. I love that we're looking into this. I'd be so scared to do that. Thanks for showing that it did not explode into a million bead missiles. It's really true, especially with this stitch. And now, look, I still have a bunch of this thread. I've got a bunch of this thread. I can always weave thread in, so it's not, yeah, or take a video, JP, right? But it's not the end of the world, right? So yeah, sometimes it's hard to remember that thread path. So now, and this is also a good reason for making 2 of these at one time. So whatever you do on this earring, we would do on this earring, right? So let's come in. So I know now I have to add these 3s, right? So let's do that. So just to backtrack, though you could improvise, the other one didn't look bad, but it wouldn't have matched my first one, right? So I'm going to come in, and we have 15s, 2 rows, 4 rows of 11s, 1, 2, 3 rows of the 8s, and on that last row, on the row in between, I added that 8/0. So now I'm just going to put on 1 row of 3 millimeters. Okay. And you can stop this earring at any time too, right? It all looks pretty good at any length, right? So let me go ahead, get my 3 mils. We'll stitch those in kind of fast. 1, nothing in between. That's where I went wrong, right? I was stitching that 4 millimeter in between there. That was a no-go. Whoops, go across. Oh. Another mistake. I'm not going to switch it out though on this one. I'll show you. And I know I made that mistake. See how in between those two, I put in that 8/0? That 8/0 should have gone in between these two, because see how when I bring this thread across, it leaves me a big old piece of thread there. So I'm just going to stitch up through that 8/0. Let me re-needle this. So this is where I would have put on that 8/0 that I already put on through that other beforehand, but I'm going to ignore it. And I'm just going to come down and put on these guys. I don't want to rip out one more row, or else we'll be on this live for like 2 hours. But you're picking up what I'm putting down, right? I put these on. I could also just put another one across, which would be fine. But I want it to follow the pattern of the other one. I think I went down through that one and then through that one. It's all fine and good when I'm sitting in front of the TV, but when I'm sitting in front of over 100 of you. I have feet of clay, but that's all right. We'll be back on track in no time. Come on, get on my needle. But cutting up your seed bead work, as long as you cut it and you have a little bit of a tail and you can take it back, you can always add more thread in. So don't worry, right? And these make up so fast that it's okay, right, to take it out. Now, I think I'm back on track. Let's go ahead and put these together and let's just compare them. Make sure this looks right. I was so excited. I was almost finished. But you know how that goes. All right, so there we are. Okay, so here we go. So see, this one, it's a little bit longer. My space is a little bit longer, but you know what? I'm going to trust that the 4 millimeter that I put in this space is going to kind of fill that up. But can you see the difference? How that A dot should have been in this row and not that row up there. But meh, not going to worry. So I think I put, let me look at the picture. Hang on, hold please. Oh, hang on. So I kind of click around here. Let's look at the picture. Okay, so I have underneath those, yeah, the amber. All right. Perfect. So I'm going to come down. I'm going to put on 2 amber. I'm going to go up. And now I'm going to put on that 4 mil. Down through the 3 mil. Put on the 2 amber. Go up through that 3 mil. Put on my 4. See how that 4 millimeter just tucks perfectly in there. Put on your 2. Put that 4 on the leg going across. Put on my 2. Then I'll come back with the picot and the 15s. And let's see what the difference. I'm going to quickly stitch this row in on the other earring too. And you can decide which look you like better. Here we go. And these 2. Okay, that's not too bad. I came back from that flub. Could have been worse. I've seen worse. Heck, I've done worse. On air. Okay. There we go. Let's take a look and see what it looks like. Okay. So here we go. Let's go ahead. I'm going to stitch the 4 mil into here. And we'll see if, it gives me a little less room. But let's see what happens. Let's see what it looks like. I need to put my needle on here. Okay, so remember how Danielle taught us how to add thread. This thread is the one that I cut, so I'm going to have to weave this in later, but this is too short of a piece of thread. Okay, so we're going to do the Danielle trick where she added thread there. Yeah, sorry, this is a long live, but you know, whatever. I got myself into it. I got to get myself out of it. It's all right. When Ellen timestamps these, we'll have the timestamping at the bottom that shows where Kate screwed up and where Kate fixed it. So now I'm going to pull this. So what I did, this is the Danielle knot where you tie on. I did a square knot right here. I wasn't really talking about what I was doing until I was doing it. I get it in a little bit tighter. I get my thread burner and I mushroom that head down. Hang on. My thread burners are also still packed. There we go. This one's working. You mushroom that head down. Tap and mushroom, tap and mushroom. So that when you pull it tight there, I'm going to cut this one off a little closer. This is Fireline, so it melts, right? Tap and mushroom. Tap and mushroom. So when I pull this tight, it's not going to pop through the knot. This one is nice and tight, so I need to tap and mushroom that one a little bit more. I think that mushroom will be a little bit big. So I'm going to cut the first mushroom I made off and mushroom it back down. There we go. There it goes. Can you see that? There we go. So that's nice and tight. Okay. That's something I learned from Danielle. So now I have a nice long piece of thread and let me get this. Oh, I've got another needle right here. Here we go. And hopefully this mushroom that I made is going to be big enough to go through the beads, but I think it will be. We'll see. Because I'm putting on 15, so let's see what happens. Needle that thread. All right, so I think what I do here, yeah, I'm going to kind of pull that to there. This end I'm going to weave in a little bit later, but I'm going to start here. I think the bead, I need to look at the sample one more time. Hang on. The sample has, okay. It has the A dots next. Okay. So I'll come in, right, the A dots there. So I have to do the A dots here in this color. Oh, whoops, sorry. I didn't get the banner down. Sorry. There we go. Just bring this across. and the 4 and through. Oh yeah, that's going to look just fine. Oops, get your tools out of the way so things don't catch. And as I say, you can stock these earrings wherever. You know, however long you want these to be. I just wanted that little pop of blue going across. So that's why I use those 15s. And these two. And this. Finish it up with 2 of those A-dots. Oops. Oh, this is where I cut this. Not good, not good. That's okay. I will finish it up on this one. What I'll do to fix this. It's an easy fix. Not a problem. I'm going to attach another thread right here like I did over here. And I will weave the little bead that came off the bottom there. Okay, not a problem. Not worried. But I need to weave back that guy there. But I'm just going to put this one aside. Okay, it's not a problem. I don't want you to see me have to fix that one, but again, no big deal. I think it was this one that came off. I'll have to look and see. So now we're going to add the picot, this one and this one. And this is where we go across. So see, there's the picot. Sits perfectly. Now, here, 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 and these guys. That's also the beauty of using that fire line. And if I didn't want these to go across like this on the bottom, I would have just come across and up and through that 4 millimeter. Does that make sense? So here's the picot, 1, 2, and 3, up through this one. Get that picot nice and tight on the bottom. I want to do that with this one too. Nice and tight so it sits like a picot. There we go, that looks better. 2 15s, or again, a drop. I was thinking about a drop. Down through that, picot, and through. I need a 3 millimeter. There's one. And through. And across. That I need to weave into. That's why I don't weave in any of my threads until I'm done, because you never know what bead life is going to hand you, right? So you got to be ready. You got to be ready to deflect. This one, this one, and this one. There we go. And that, my friends, look at that. I love it. So this unfortunate little, I'm just going to get another piece of thread and start fixing that. So let me zoom out a little bit and let's talk about the top portion of this. I think what I'll do for this top portion is I'm going to let this flow into next week because I really want you to see this connection and I don't want to leave you hanging. So here's this. And yeah, I'll show you how to fix the snag. And let's add this onto here. Let me see if I can find. So see, this is going to connect. So we'll talk about that next week. Okay? That's okay. The snag, did the snag come out? So with this one that I cut it and the snag went away. But let me tell you how I would do it. Okay? Let's pretend that there's a snag on this one because I want to get this needle up there anyway. I would just come in and I would go bring my needle up next to the snag. Okay, let's say that the snag was here. Let me bring this through like this. Okay. Come on. So here's my little thread snag right there. Can you see it? I'll show you. Hang on. Let me get there. So here's the little thread snag, that loop. It's hard to see. I would come with the needle that I am stitching with. I would grab that snag. Let me hold it so it's tight on the back. I'll hold it sideways. Maybe you can see it that way. I'd grab that snag. Can you see that way? There we go. I would go through it to make sure that I caught it. And I would keep going through my beads. And since I caught that snag, I'd bring that snag along for the ride. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can get it through here. And you can see me pull that through. And I just keep weaving. That snag would be caught on my thread. Sorry about that. It'd be caught on my thread. And see how that snag, when I pull on my thread, it just pulls all the way through. Sorry, I keep going out of frame. But now I'm pulling the snag and my thread through. And your snag shouldn't be see, it's kind of down there. It kind of is tightened around. And you just kind of keep getting in there and stitching it down. Does that make sense? Right? And then once that snag is kind of caught, it's kind of in front of that bead, but it's not the end of the world right there. I'm going to go in a little bit tighter so you can see this. But try it out when you are stitching, right? I caught that snag over here. I kind of wrapped my thread around it so it was caught on this thread, and I kept weaving it along with me. Now that it's woven in, I can weave it up here to the top. I hope that makes sense, right? That's it. So we are going to next week. Let me go out. We're going to come in and attach this part to the top. Okay, I bit off a little more than I could chew today with both of these things. I hope that makes sense. I hope it does. Gosh, I've been on here 2 hours. Sorry. But it was fun. I think that this Danielle project, I urge you to give it a try. And don't be afraid of, adding different beads. I would suggest doing one on one earring and then doing one on the other earring so you don't screw it up like I did, right? But, it shows. It shows how to fix, right? So Danielle has, as I say the list, I went through, I used a fewer beads than she did. Doing this start fairly straightforward to when you get to finishing those 8/0, right? And then here, when you start to add the 3 and 4s, that's where I really started to improvise. Just make sure what you improvise on one earring, you improvise in the same order on your second earring. Okay. Then here you can see if you want to use the crimp ends, what Danielle shows you is just add a little bit of glue and glue that crimp end onto your earring. What I'm going to do, and I love that suggestion, Curtis, that you had, is to maybe even start this with brick stitch on this side, and it would make that loop. What I'm going to do, and let me zoom in on this one. What I'm going to do here, and you can kind of play around with it if you want to until I work with it next week. I'm going to come in and I'm going to brick stitch. I think I'm going to brick stitch this all the way around and then catch my brick underneath those 15s and then brick stitch around here. Then for a second row, I might do a little bit of picot there to bring in with the 15s to bring this 15 up into this. So we'll see. But again, don't be afraid to experiment. If I can do it on live and I can screw up on live and fix it, don't worry, right? These are such small, fast earrings that playing around with a few different iterations will be fine. Just to remind you, here on this side where I cut this thread, I'm going to do that little connection with the fire line, tie that knot, and then weave the bead in that fell off, and then come in and finish this weaving. So it's not the end of the world for sure. Try it with drops, try it with some different beads, whatever you like down there. Do remember, I'll put this back up one more time, that all of the hoops and connectors are 10% off this week. The sale ends on the 28th. So they're already marked down on the website. You can combine that with our September 10 coupon to save even more on those. And then tomorrow, you're going to see me. I'm not going to be on the screen here. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. You're going to see me at 10:30 tomorrow. We're going to be dropping a little bead kit and necklace kit. I haven't done it in a while, so I started playing around with it. So it'll be up for tomorrow. I'll show you that. We'll have a special Thursday stitch in. Then Friday, we're going to do that bracelet project that's trending. And Saturday, we're going to do bead embroidery. So you're going to have a lot of me this week, but that's just how it is. Miranda goes, and we kind of play around. So the Lola earring is here. You can find it under the collections. Use my colorway or improvise on your own. And I appreciate you folks hanging in. You know, when we have a challenge, just like in life, we have to look at it, we have to assess it, and we have to move forward over it. That's how it is. Beads like life. All right. Thanks so much, my friends, for joining me today. I'll see you tomorrow for that special Thursday broadcast. Check your newsletters tonight for the info about the kit I'm dropping, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.